Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
David Muir, BC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, breaking news, the ICU nurse from the VA shot and killed in Minneapolis. Tonight, in addition to the images seen by millions across this country, DHS now says there is body camera video from some federal agents. Tonight, frame by frame of the eyewitness video, the chilling moments right here, and what we now know about the fatal shooting of 37-year-old Alex Preddy, shot by federal agents. Authorities believe at least 10 shots fired in just seconds. Alex Preddy hit multiple times. Tonight, the new phone call between President Trump and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And late today, news of this major change. Who's leaving, who's coming, and will some agents leave as well? Also tonight, the death toll rising at this hour from the crippling winter storm, and tonight the brutal cold now settling in for days. Hundreds of thousands remain without power, facing life-threatening wind chills. Treacherous driving, snow blowing through the doors of a commuter train outside New York City. Power lines sparking, coated in ice. 800,000 without power, and yes, Ginger Z is now watching what could be the next winter storm and where it could hit. Ginger is standing by. Tonight, the deadly plane crash right during the storm, the plane crashing during takeoff, and what we know so far. Tonight, Olympic snowboarder accused drug kingpin Ryan Wedding in court. This evening, the stunning images showing the moment a hotel ceiling collapses. Tonight, the heart-pounding event, the free solo climber scaling one of the tallest buildings in the world, and he makes it to the top. What he said after getting there. The Super Bowl set now, the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks tonight, quarterback Drake May, and his new message. We'll see what Seattle thinks of this. And America Strong tonight, the meteorologist live outside on the air right during the storm, and what happens right in front of him over and over again. You have to see this. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News.
The big dig this Monday night, from Canada's biggest city to the Atlantic.
If you gotta go somewhere, be careful.
The records shattered, the dangerous power outages, and the good deed in this frigid weather that will warm your heart. The federal government targets affordability. What a boost to the GST credit means for your wallet.
Many Canadians are feeling the pressures.
And how the Prime Minister is responding to the U.S. President's latest insult. And Minnesota in mourning. The pleas to end ICE operations in that state and a mounting backlash against the White House. Heather Urix-West is in Minneapolis tonight.
Global National Week Donna Friesen.
Snowplows and shovelers are getting a workout in Toronto after the biggest single-day snowfall since record-keeping began. 56 centimeters fell downtown, making this the snowiest January of all time in that city. Good evening and thanks for joining us. That same system blanketed southern Ontario, Quebec, and parts of Atlantic Canada, causing travel havoc for millions. In many parts of the country, roads are treacherous as plows struggle to keep up. Classes were cancelled in schools in southern Ontario, parts of Quebec, and most of Nova Scotia, and hundreds of flights never got off the ground, disrupting the travel of tens of thousands of people. Heidi Petracek has our top story tonight. Heidi.
Donna, the dumping of snow that hit the Greater Toronto area has meant a snow day for students and a busy day for plows. There are widespread effects throughout Eastern Canada, and yellow warnings for snowfall are still in effect for some. Then there's the serious concern over power outages and the frigid temperatures in Quebec. The wind chill made it feel like -20 in Montreal, bitterly cold, particularly for those without power.
We fortunately were able to find friends elsewhere in the city that we could stay with, to stay warm.
15,000 addresses lost electricity in the city Saturday. Hydro-Quebec working to fix an equipment failure behind persistent outages in Côte-Saint-Luc. Power outages dangerous in freezing temperatures. 2 deaths have been reported in the cold weather. A 66-year-old found dead in her home Sunday, and this man's 87-year-old wife who had been rushed to hospital.
I got the call this morning that she passed away in the night.
Neighbors since helping him out of his frigid home. Lines are long at airports after hundreds of flight cancellations, passengers hoping to get back in the air as airlines try to recover.
It wasn't ideal after a long weekend of a hockey tournament, but we're okay with it as long as we get out today.
With the way the weather is, you can't.
President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number 1, Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Fry implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota.
Now, if true, that's good news, but trust but verify. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party, along with the legacy media mob, is once again weaponizing and politicizing a person's death. Now, if we're going to fully understand this weekend, we need to go back a full 5 years. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and Democrats, night after night, right here on this program for 4 straight years, we showed you all of these videos, millions and millions and millions of illegals, 12 million plus from over 200 countries flooding into our country unvetted. And as you look at these videos, I want you to listen to Joe and Kamala and Mayorkas saying to the American people for 4 years over and over again, lying, the border's closed, the border's secure. You want to know how we got where we are this weekend? You got to start here.
Purpose to secure the border, southern border is working. It is my testimony that the border is secure.
We agree that the border is secure.
That sounds to most folks like a crisis. Well, look, it's way down now. We've now gotten control. And the border is closed. Nor could I have been clearer and continue to be so, which is the border is closed.
Would you call the border secure?
I think that there is no question that we have to do what the president and I asked Congress to do. Is the first request we made. Pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure. We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
I haven't been to Europe. I haven't been to China either. Over 12 million plus unvetted illegal immigrants, known terrorists among them, murderers among them, rapists, pedophiles, other violent criminals, cartel members, gang members, drug dealers. That's who came into this country. Donald Trump was elected in large part to...
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Thanks for staying with us here on Night Watch on France 24. These are our main stories for you this hour. The mayor of Minneapolis says some federal immigration officers are to begin leaving the city this Tuesday amid growing backlash over the killing of Alex Preddy, the second resident to be killed by ICE agents in the past weeks. Among those to leave, the Border Patrol commander, Greg Bovino. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says Europe cannot defend itself without US military support, saying EU countries would have to double defence spending at the very least. It comes as several countries are leading a push for Europe to stand on its own after Donald Trump's threats to take over the Danish territory of Greenland. And the leaders of the European Union and India asked to sign a long-awaited free trade agreement and security partnership in Delhi this Tuesday. The deal had been in the works for about 2 decades, but when Donald Trump threatened tariffs last year, it expedited negotiations, with signature to come in the coming hours.
This is DW News, live from Berlin. Politicians from Donald Trump's own party start to question the US president's immigration crackdown. The aggressive deportation campaign fuels more protests in Minnesota after federal agents shoot dead another American citizen. There are calls for a fuller investigation. An historic winter storm barrels across the United States, causing deaths, mass power cuts and flight cancellations. Officials warn of a drawn-out storm with catastrophic effects. And gold glitters more than ever before. We look at the factors driving the surge in the price of the precious metal, which is proving popular among new investors.
Hello, you're watching Sky News. I'm Nick Qureshi. Here are the headlines. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman becomes the third sitting Tory MP to defect to reform inside a fortnight, accusing her now former party of betrayal.
I've had enough of Conservative betrayal. I've had enough of Conservative denial.
Prime Minister defends his decision to block Andy Burnham's hopes of a return to Parliament. Donald Trump sends his border czar to take charge in Minneapolis as calls grow for an inquiry into a second fatal shooting in weeks of a civilian by immigration officers. Plus, the remains of the last Israeli hostage have been recovered in Gaza. Palestinians demand to reopen the Rafah Sea. Hello, very good morning. Nice to have your company here on this Tuesday morning. Suella Braverman has accused the Conservatives of betrayal as she became the third Tory leadership candidate to jump ship to reform UK in as many weeks. The move brings the number of sitting MPs in Nigel Farage's party now to 8. The Conservatives had initially referenced Mrs Braverman's mental health when responding to her defection, comments which have since been retracted.
Well, it is a bit pathetic. As I said, it says more about them than it does me. I'm not really going to dignify it. It's, I'm afraid, just more sorry signs of a bitter and desperate party that's in freefall.
Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, can bring us the latest.
It was a pretty low blow to talk about mental health by the Conservatives, and it appalled some of their own people, and the Tory HQ finally deleted the reference. What happened was that Mr Farage staged a news conference in the morning when he unveiled Suella Braverman, and then later, and it was in response to that the Tories put out a statement which said it was always a matter of time, not when, not if, she'd defect. And then the Tories said the Conservatives did all we could to look after Suella's mental health, but she was clearly very unhappy. Well, after protests, they...
Today, a bushfire emergency in Victoria's Otways region amid scorching heatwave conditions forecast to break records across the southeast. Two killed in a fiery light plane crash on the Gold Coast. A Perth man charged after allegedly throwing an explosive device at a rally on Australia Day. Reports the commander of the US's border force has been stood down after sustained unrest in Minneapolis. And world number one Arena Sabalenka cruises into the semi-finals in straight sets. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Selena Edmonds. Parts of southeast Australia are set to be amongst the hottest places on Earth today, with record temperatures forecast amid the increased fire risk. Parts of Victoria, South Australia and New South Wales are nearing 50 degrees, with people urged to take precautions and to stay up to date with all the warnings. Melbourne is expected to hit 45 degrees for the first time since 2009, while the Victorian town of Mildura and nearby Oyun are inching closer to the forecast top of 49 degrees. Ivanhoe in New South Wales is nearing 48, whilst Renmark in South Australia has reached its
Africa News. The news.
John Taylor Mutumai is among the thousands of victims of the looting and vandalism that struck Goma on January 27, 2025, the day the city was taken by AFC M23 fighters. That day, thousands of shops and businesses were looted by unknown individuals, plunging many traders into unemployment and poverty. There were televisions, computers, lots of accessories, phones, but on the 27th, everything was taken. They even took part of the door. The one you see here is new. 1 year later, John Taylor still keeps the images of his looted shop filmed by passers-by. Like many entrepreneurs in Goma, he chose to get back on his feet, not to give up, and to resume his activities despite an economy that remains extremely fragile. People don't have money. The banks are closed. The flow of money before and flow today are two completely different things. In Goma, this determination to rebuild is also driven by local solidarity. Associations are mobilizing to help people affected by looting and war, particularly vulnerable families and displaced persons. So far, we have very little money. We try to provide financial support, even though ourselves we have no fundings. We just try to raise funds through our groups online, and based on that, we try to assist the other vulnerable. Since the city was taken by the armed groups, banks have remained closed, a situation that is crippling the local economy and making daily life harder for residents and traders alike. For their part, M23 authorities say they have taken certain measures to address economic challenges. We reduced the number of taxes from 500 to 200, all to help boost an economy that was bankrupt in the city of Goma and to allow young people to start businesses. Goma remains under AFC M23 control despite ongoing diplomatic initiatives. Mediation efforts are struggling to succeed and no clear outlook has emerged so far. But on the ground, residents refuse to give up. Resilience has become an act of survival for an entire population.
The price of gold is hitting record highs, but traders in Sudan are missing out. Conflict, infrastructure, dam, and collapsing trade ties mean they're not benefiting from the surge. The current market is incredibly difficult. It's a heavy blow to the gold sector. Nearly 3 years of civil war have crippled production and exports.
This is Asia Now.
It's 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 in New Delhi, and 10 o'clock in Jakarta. Good morning. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, U.S. President Donald Trump says he's raising tariffs on some imports from South Korea to 25%, calling out the country for not living up to their trade deal. Seoul now seeking urgent talks with Washington over the matter. Campaigning begins for Japan's lower house election as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi seeks a strong mandate. And India and the EU are set to announce a long-awaited free trade deal. The two sides are holding a summit in New Delhi to formalize the pact. says it is still awaiting word from Washington after U.S. President Donald Trump said he's increasing tariffs on South Korean goods to 25%. He took aim at the country's key exports, including cars and pharmaceuticals, as he seeks to pressure the country to enact their trade deal. Mr. Trump said on social media that Seoul is not living up to the agreement signed with Washington last year. The U.S. had agreed to cap tariffs at 15%, down from the 25% rate announced on the so-called Liberation Day in April, as South Korea had promised $350 billion in investments to the U.S. The agreement was submitted to South Korea's National Assembly and is currently being reviewed. The office of South Korean President Lee Jae-myung.
Thank you for watching Ahmed Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.